Good evening.
Good evening, Penny.
Benny.
How's everybody? Is it a public holiday anywhere else in the world or just Australia?
Just Australia and New Zealand, and I don't know if Turkey. So it's a public holiday in Turkey.
Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Yeah, just Oz and New Zealand. What a crappy market at the moment, eh? What's everybody's gut feel? I get asked this question so many times, it's ridiculous. And all the people that you know in your circle that say that they've never invested in cryptocurrency and all the rest of it come out and say, "What do you reckon's going to happen now?" And you think, they're all doing the JP and walking behind your back, aren't they? Questions from one of our amazing community members. Will there be a way to track staking pool tubes? Is Pete here? Someone from Games?
I'm here. What's the question again?
Question from one of our amazing community members. Will there be a way to track staking pool tubes?
Yes, it's on chain. Just look it up.
I think that's something a little bit more specific.
I'll send. Yeah, I'll send the. I'll send the ways on how to look up. A lot of community members already know how to look it up. I'll send steps. Oh, you mean like do you want a website for us to do that? I'm gonna check resources, but maybe we can whip up a page or something.
Down more people worrying about inflation. Yeah, it's a very interesting thing, isn't it? Because I keep getting, like I said, keep getting asked the same question. I think the thing is that if you look at fear indexes and all the rest of it, I think that people think that it's such an obvious move. What I'm looking at how many. I look at the short versus long positions. That's what I look at, and have a look at how many people are actually shorting. Because once the shorts get disproportionately huge compared to the longs, that's when these people make sure that it's a neck-breaking move. A lot of money to be made out of that. Bitcoin down to 25k. You never know, do you? But ultimately, as I said today, technically the whole point of this crypto introduction was to provide a better system moving forwards, right? And the last thing that you really want is for crypto to be looked at as just another one of the things that are affected, that goes up and down the mainstream, everything else. So the quicker we get utility in and actually start having these products that become the new way forward, the better for everybody. Will I be able to see how many tubes I've staked, how many in the pools, and what I earned based on current staked tubes for the non-chain wizards? Calculate yourself. There you go. I can't wait till Bitcoin will not have any more effect on RFOX price. Bitcoin's a very weird one, isn't it? Because as I was saying the other day, and as it's been stated many times before, that the adoption of a currency and the adoption of a network attached to a currency don't necessarily have to move in unison, and Bitcoin's a great example of that. But I think that we did definitely see somewhat of a move towards decoupling, even though it was only a very small move once stablecoins were introduced. But it's still very much the king, isn't it? And it decides what happens. Saw this tweet. What is that? Hey, Benny,
the one that you tweeted, Benny, about RFOX holders.
Yeah. So one of the things I was talking to Pete about before and been thinking about for quite a long period of time is how we can develop a system that You know, a lot of people, and it's good to do things that build your audiences and your communities and all the rest of it, of course. But the thing is that there's some things that can be done that are pretty easy to implement that change the system a bit, mix it up a little bit, instead of it being, you know, the normal Discord and tag and all the rest of it. There's a fair bit that can be done for holders. So I won't talk too much about that because we've got a lot coming out in the coming days and stuff, with giving you more context on the avatars and apartments and stuff, and it would be good to sort of plant those seeds for you. But ultimately, I think the system's right for a bit of disruption for the way that you reward people. When invite for me, I don't know. Have we? Is Piyush
Tomorrow.
tomorrow? Is it? Okay.
Tomorrow, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. MVP on track, ready for Wednesday. Yes, actually, it's been a good few days actually, because we've got we've got a bit of Arsenal up our sleeves at the minute. But yes, everything's on track for Wednesday.
Yeah, it's looking really good. Looking really good. We're 100% on track. We're going to make it for sure.
Yep. So I think again, what we're starting to see is we've got a much bigger team than we've had before, and we're starting to see things happen at a much faster pace. We talked about it last Friday in relation to the difference between a small team and trying to get a million things done, and then a bigger team trying to still get a million things done, but now things move at a faster pace. Pete's working his ass.
Actually, Benny, you know, I can also vouch for that. You can get 1 million people, but the amount of work, it doesn't get any less, right? It just keeps increasing and increasing and increasing.
Well, they said they always say that you live to your means, right? And the old adage is if you earn $5,000 a month, then you'll spend $5,000. If you get a pay rise and you get $10,000 a month, suddenly you work out how to spend $10,000, and the capacity just keeps going. And that's what happened with us. We've got so many pieces of and components that have to click together that that there is never going to be a shortage of things to do. But I just really personally can't wait for the creator economy to kick in as well, so that we've got other people sort of clicking in, and still will mean a lot of work for us, but I think we'll be able to move even 10 times quicker than when you've got a whole heap of people building. It was.
Reminds me of when Benny, when you asked me how many developers I need, and I said 12. Now we got 12, and then we're still having this conversation about nuts. We need more developers.
Yeah, I mean, going back to the previous point that I was making with RFOX holders and stuff, I think that I don't understand why more people don't go down the route that we were talking about earlier today. I think that it's something to do with work, with the amount of work that people think they have to do, or the work that they have to do. But with some of the tools that we've got, it's just a matter of implementing it, right? But ultimately, there's a lot of people that profit in people's communities from just drifting in and then drifting out and sort of pillaging. And I think there's a lot of ways you can get around that. This was from Cryptid Punks. Share some alpha on what it is about. It's about KML. I don't know what you're talking about there. The fact that we'll be able to mint KML. Okay, there you go. Still keen to get some of my mum's toys in your shop if possible. Lovely Josh. There you go. They released this before the minting, I believe, so it was supposed to be coming soon, not new at all. Time travel. Actually, so the question that we got asked earlier as well was in relation to KML. I got asked last week, I forgot to answer it on Friday, was people were saying you'd mentioned previously that there was interest in KML from people outside of RFOX. How could that work? So we've kind of touched on that before for those of you who understand. Should I just assume that some people don't know what it is? Pete, KML.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if they know what KML is.
I'm just trying to see who's here as far as would people know. Okay, so the idea of Cogs Mint Lab is, for those of you who haven't used it, Bored Apes were the first ones to go on. But obviously, the way it works is that you would be able to be verified that you hold a particular type of NFT. And as a result of holding that type of NFT, you would have the right to produce another NFT. In our case, for Cogs Mint Lab, it's Cogs as a derivative, which means that you can actually then sell that piece and have a passive income. It could be act as a whitelist to upcoming NFT releases. It can also be a game piece, meaning that companies wouldn't necessarily have to build their own games. But the thing is that we're seeing it being used for Cogs, and why we got some external interest and why people were signifying that they would be interested in taking this. When I say taking this, we had people ask to buy it or purchase it. And the reason they were doing that is because you don't necessarily have to be just for Cogs. For example, a project could come along and want to do a derivative. I'll give you an example. You might have two Avengers NFTs, and both of those are subject to limited licensing. And you can create a derivative based on the fact that you own those two, and that derivative could be used as a game piece or a new collection, etc. All done through the same method. So the outside interest is more from also people on other chains as well, working out how they can deal with problems like the F1 problem that we saw with Animoca. Benny, are you from the future? I highly doubt that. Okay, stop editing the past. But if it's on-chain, Cyberbot, there you go. Have you looked at adding any AR functions to the ecosystem? Pete, you want to help with that one?
No, not yet.
Okay. All I'll say is that we did look into a few people that could have been potential partners for us that do a lot of this stuff. I think that the VR component of things would deal with a lot of the stuff that we were going to use the early instances of AR4.
Sorry, Benny, I misread the question. It
Ah.
says, have you looked into adding any AR? Yes, we've looked into it, but we're not doing it at the time for the time being.
Yeah. A lot of what we were looking for into it for, and the people that we were potentially able to partner with, the VR component sort of, even though they're completely different, of course, achieved a lot of what we wanted to achieve. But we've found a couple of really good companies in the process. Can't wait to get in the vault and check out your shop. I'm not a doctor, but I think that is wrong. There you go. Lucky Luke, you coming back to Australia, specifically to Melbourne, inviting you to RFOX meetup in Melbourne. I don't know if he's on mute.
I responded to that one. I am keen. If I'm around, for sure.
There you go. Novogratz published image of Red Fox on Twitter a few days ago. Could this be somehow related to the 27th launch? I don't have any comment on that. You got to squint, then close one eye, tilt your head, then close the other eye, and once you smack yourself over the head, you'll see an answer or feel it. I think you write that stuff just to hear me read it, right? Quickly changed it to bow down to your supreme ruler. Come on. You answered your own question. Anyone in Toronto? Toronto. There you go. Asking for a friend. Pretty close. As Pete said, the names will be released tomorrow, but I think that the important thing to point out this week is this is a massive milestone for us because, as we've stated, the Vault MVP is about the function, not so much the form. It is the stick in the ground, as we've said before. It is the chance for us to be able to say We've got something that we're building that can now plug the rest of the things that we're building into it. And it's a very big dividing line between having a theory, a concept, a paper, an idea. And I think that I know that a lot of you have been around since the early days, but I don't think people understand how many pieces have been built across different industries, the complexity of that, especially when you're taking a multi-chain approach and putting that all together. It's a lot of hard work. We've got a long way to go. We've hardly started in the context of that, but it will happen quickly. Once the foundations or the tracks are laid, it'll start moving very, very quickly. So the iterations that we bring out, like, things will change a lot. It's the way you see the shops or the layouts or the look and the feel of things. This is a means to an end. It's the beginning of our sandbox environment, not to be confused with the sandbox, but our sandbox environment of being able to start experimenting with trialing things, look and feel, plugging things in. Going to be very, very, very interesting for sure. Oh, there you go. Trying to speak to me in Vietnamese, hey? Let's have some drinking.
That's Chinese. That's Chinese, Benny.
Yes. It's all the same, mate, as far as the ability to understand it. Cogger giveaway tonight, Benny. I think we're doing it on Wednesday, are we not? Because we...
Yes, Wednesday.
Wednesday. How many avatars per whitelist seat? Only one. Okay, so how it works for those of you who haven't been around is the first iteration is the OG. So when you do get into buying an avatar, you will get another avatar at no cost, plus you will get 2 apartments. So that's at the top level, but ability to purchase, there will only be 1,000 for sale, and the other 300 go to shop owners. At the top level and under. Today, RFOX 2020, no, not quite. RFOX 2020s are very, very... You just had an RFOX meetup, yeah. So maybe you want to talk about that, Pete, no?
We had a meetup. I think I told them on Friday, right?
Yeah, some of the people... Yeah, it was a pretty... It's another significant thing because, we couldn't have... A year ago, we had people, a thin crowd, but they were spread out everywhere. But the fact that we were able to have multiple meetups at the same time in multiple cities was kind of cool because it just shows you that we're getting to sizable numbers now. And it was the first time that we'd really had a chance to get, especially coordinated like that, and having multiple cities have meetups. It was good for the staff to get together.
Yeah, so we had 4 meetups. One in the Philippines. I think there was 12 people there. I think the Vietnam one had 9. Ho Chi Minh had 9. Hanoi we got 7, and then KL we got 7. So yeah, pretty awesome.
Yeah, that is good. Can I mint 2 OG avatars if I get a whitelist spot, for example? So no, when you get a whitelist spot, you would get 1 OG avatar and then 1 normal avatar and the 2 apartments. So you get 1 OG and 1 normal and 2 apartments. But the apartments, it doesn't matter whether you buy in the OG run and you get a mint pass for an apartment versus whether you buy later in the second round, because all of the mint passes are for the apartments will be subject to the same grouping or random number generators, whereas the OG avatars will be specific to the OG sale. I didn't say that. I posted, when will whitelist for OG avatars be known? So shortly, we're going to start giving you the information. We got a chance late last week, to have a look at what the difference between the normal avatars and the OG avatars look like, and the progression, and the tool that we've mentioned before, that we're going down the route of also making sure that we have our own avatar creation system, and we've had a tool. So we've had a chance to have a look at the early iterations of what that looks like. So that's good progress being made by the guys. And Bioscope Economic Report, yes. After this call, I will be putting my final touches on it, and then it goes through the ringer, with the aim to have it out in the next 48 hours. When you say meetups, are you talking about RFOX Games employee meetups? No, we're talking about RFOX in general. We were all the people that are based in those cities that Pete mentioned, so Kuala Lumpur, Ho Chi Minh, Hanoi, and Philippines, and that was because we've got the most people in those cities. All got together and had a Friday happy hour meetup, which was the first time we'd done that across cities. They meet up and slam each other in real life. Can we expect economic paper tomorrow? I can't guarantee it'll be tomorrow rather than Wednesday, but yes, it's coming. As I stated, we'd sort of done it a few months back, and we've now collated a whole heap more questions to be answered, and that's what I'm injecting in there now. And then also we've got some updates in relation to the avatars, because they've progressed. So I've got more information on those. So I'm just trying to make sure that it answers as many people's queries and questions as possible. And we did say that the numbers were of the page that we put out. We're trying to get closer to cementing those in. But like I said, based on the gut feels that we've had so far, we're not going to get everybody claiming. So there's going to be a significant number based on what you're telling us. Whether that's what you do, that's another thing. A lot of people won't claim. How many apartments per tower are penthouses at the top? So the penthouses with more than likely going to be floating, so they'll be separate. And then the majority of the apartments should be in the spires. Will the supply of apartments inflate after some time, 2 years, or will they remain scarce with a fixed supply? So what we've said is that with both the apartments and the avatars, off and it becomes a big success, and you get to a situation where people want to come in and have their own space or instance. Is that something that you'd look at? And the answer that we gave was we would consider that, but what we are saying is that the apartments would be limited to the number that we mean, and will always have the increased value and scarcity. And again, with the avatars, these original 10,000 would always have extra privilege and access and rights. So if other people come in and do collabs, for example, hint, and sort of say we want to do the next iteration of avatars that are creator economy based with brands, for example, then those would have not got the same access rights and the same privileges as the first 10,000 collection that we do. I guess that's going to bring up a lot of questions as well. Here, I think we're almost ready as well, right? Who's going to be showing that? Will there be a loincloth trait for the peasant avatars? I can't wait to see the peasant avatars. I want us to have a lot of fun with that. I think the peasant avatars are going to be, even though they might be in the common batch, they'll probably be so rare that they'll be the Kevins, the most demanded ones. Oh, we're doing the share already. Are the avatars?
Did you ask me to share? I thought you just said share.
Yeah. No, go for it. Yes. Are the avatars an animal? No. They're not an animal. What is that, guys? I've got Avatars not always voice cyber. With the system that we're
That's
building,
science and tech.
yes, with the system that we're building, they should all be interoperable. Science and technology, yes, correct. But which one are we showing? Because there's okay, so we're showing that. All right, so the basis for that, as you can see, there's a bit of a surprise coming to show you another time. It just takes that to the next level. But you'll see that the basis of that is, if you're having a close look, kind of mechanical and olden, but it does get a really good touch up. But I think the steampunk, yeah, it's got a bit of a World's Fair look as well. Yeah, Madame, it's really, really like, I was saying to you guys the other day that it was probably one of, I think it's, I don't know, I just keep leaning to that when people say which one would you like the best. And the reason we haven't shown you that part of it yet, we will. I don't want to spoil the thunder of Piyush's reveals, but ultimately, that's the basis of the quarter. That quarter goes to 5 octave higher when you sort of look at it.
You'd already ruined the reveal with a massive pineapple.
Does it spin? That looks mad. Inside of a Rolex. FMH, actually very interesting that you say that because some of the concept pictures and stuff that were sort of put up were watch parts and also, yeah, like we said, like clock towers and yes, train parts. It's really, really cool. I really, really like it. And I think that when you see the next reveal, the next part of it and what the final product looks like, I think, yeah, I think it's my favorite. I know this is concept art for now, but will this be pretty close to the walkthrough people might see before the land sale for the quarter? So that's a very good question. So what is the build out the versions of what it will look like. They've got some time refining that, and that takes some period of time to do. But ultimately, the style and the layout, so they've got a ton of different components and stuff. But like I say, you haven't seen the second part of the review for this yet, so there's a bit more to go with that. But
Benny, if you can hear me, you're a robot right now.
oh no.
Okay, now you're better.
Okay. So what I was saying was wait till the second part of the reveal for this, but ultimately it's just like the MVP. The MVP is a chance to show you roughly where things are located and how it all looks. But obviously that they're a work in progress and they're going to keep iterating until they get closer to the pictures. But although the pictures are for illustrative purposes, yes, that's the direction that it's going in, and yes, it should be very similar to that. Very similar. If some company would ask you to build them a metaverse, would you do it? Or you prefer to build only for RFOX needs? That's a good question as well, George74. You often ask good ones. We've had people ask that a lot. We've sat down and we've looked at all the different options as well. And as you know, we're going to launch at a local level as well. Ultimately, what we'd prefer to do is just make sure that we maintain the ownership of the code and all the rest of it. But we did look into how we would do that. So there has been some significant offers for people to ask us to build stuff out for them. And we've even been asked to go down the metaverse as a service route. But our focus firmly is, and we've got some pretty clear ideas on where that should go, but we'll explain those soon. Our focus at the moment is trying to make sure that we get out the best basis that we can for our metaverse, and that we're developing that and getting that towards that final product, and making sure that we're providing value to the people that have already sort of started their journey with us. So that's our main focus and priority for the moment. But it is a good question, and I do have a very strong idea of exactly what should happen there. And this is going to get really, really cutthroat pretty soon. And I honestly believe we're going down a different path than most of the other companies will. But I believe, again, that it's the right path. And I believe a lot of people will steer towards that path. But it's a great question, mate. And it's going to get talked about a lot very, very shortly. Yeah, Artis, I think it is. You're speechless about that. Like I said, you haven't seen the best part of it yet. Urban Gecko. Zip it. I'm okay now, though. You can hear me, right?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah. But Piyush, new website far away, sneak peeks for us. You mentioned it about a week and a half ago.
So on the new websites, it's not the Vault website that you're going to get in a week and a half or anytime soon. To be honest, we're working on something really cool for it. Trust me, but it's just going to take us a little time to crack. However, we are refreshing one of our other venture sites, just like we did with RFOX.com and just like we did with RFOX.finance. And this third site that we're refreshing, it's again a complete overhaul of it. I think it looks spectacular. I think Luke also thinks it looks spectacular. I know he's seen it already. He also loved it. And we're hoping to release it before in the next week and a half. So we're just trying to, close the loop and just get this kicked out. Which one is it? I'm going to tell you, of course, closer to when it's launching, right? Otherwise, what's the fun?
Why not, instead of calling them white labeled metaverse products, call them white labeled vaults, tailored to company needs, custom models, custom interactions, and eventually, once you are far enough in the dev and SDK tool setup, people could eventually integrate them directly Disneyland Vault Edition. So we did look at that in the beginning, but I think there's a much clever way to do it. Because the other thing you have to take into consideration for that is we want to obviously maintenance is extremely important if we want to control the codes as well. But we have a way around that. But it's actually quite a simple solution. But again, I don't think it's a path that many are looking at this particular point in time. But it's quite an easy path. Is RFOX TV going to be called RFOX TV or something else which you guys own? I'm interested to find out what you mean by the later part, but it is RFOX TV. What do you mean by that? You mean it like a brand new brand name that's like something under our umbrella, I'm assuming? Just giving Pete some grief. Glad RFOX.com was updated to update current management. Yeah, and Madame, it's an ever-changing landscape, isn't it? And again, it's one of those crypto things. You do get sometimes like traditional companies might have, startups might have the founders and contact us or whatever. But this whole show us your team type of thing on the pages is very much a crypto thing, and understand where that came from as well, because a lot of the teams don't dox themselves or don't want to show that they're real, and people want to know that they're investing in a group of people that are real, and there's a significant amount of people working towards the goal. So it's kind of like it's a thing, isn't it? A crypto thing. Games planning on hosting SAM events for other groups outside of the Filipino community. Anyone from Games here that could answer? Otherwise, we park that till Wednesday. We'll come back to you, mate. Like Google owns YouTube. Yeah. So the question in relation to the white label metaverses, if I answer the question to that, I'm answering the question to the metaverses as well. All I'll say is that there will be other brands, companies that would utilize our tools in combination. And I think we've already talked about this, and some of you have approached us as well. the idea of you being able to combine several of the tools we have together to form a product of your own, and then go out and potentially raise or launch your own tokens or NFTs or whatever, that's already, we've already had talks with some of you and also with investors and other people, but there are companies that are understanding that a lot of the work that we've done is pretty hard work, and they want a fast route to market. And by us having tools available for them to use, it's great for us as well, because if you're powered by RFOX, and I know that it's something that's not a foreign concept to you guys listening as well, because as I said, some of you have contacted us and sort of said, is it possible to combine stuff that you have? Would we be able to use those to create our own businesses in the metaverse? And the answer, of course, is yes. And that's part of flicking the creator economy on. And I think that when we talk about creator economy, a lot of people think, oh, can I create a tree and put it on the marketplace for people to buy and they can have my tree? They think of it in very simplistic terms, whereas in actual fact, most people that have been around for a while are thinking about it more from the perspective of, I know a little bit about the crypto space, I know XYZ skills, and I've got a group of people that want to work on an idea. And if we provide the tools, and therefore if you're plugging into our ecosystem, then you would also be plugging into the audience. And it's a lot easier for you to raise as a business forming in the metaverse if you go out and say, I'm using tools that are already now launching and established, because the risk of you not being able to build those things is far, far less because they exist already. Are you implementing any other uses in the MVP than buying NFTs in shops? So that is the primary first thing. We've obviously done a lot of stuff, as stated, like with collision and with chat and multiplayer and all of that type of stuff. But ultimately, we've got a few things hot on the heels of the Vault that will allow you to use your imaginations on how the thing comes together quickly. RFOX TV is, hang on. So it's not Google streaming. Yeah. RFOX TV is more owned by content creators though. Well, artists, I think that the RFOX TV, just like all the RFOX branded products, are supposed to be a showcase of what can be done using the tools, and how those tools or how those products plug in together to form part of this overall ecosystem. And ultimately, as we've said before many times from day one, we've said that the best game that is in the RFOX Games ecosystem will not be created by us. It'll be by an external party plugging in. And we've also said that that will be the case for all of the products and services. Our job is to provide the showroom and show you what the tools can do. And then obviously we have the platform. And as we've always said, we want to be much more like a Roblox than a Facebook, and allow other people to come in and say, hey, great, if I took your TV and your NFT white label platform, for example, I could create a content distribution company, metaverse-based company. I could have a shop in the metaverse. I could peddle my wares. I could actually promote this product and service. And if people are being powered by RFOX, then that's a fantastic situation. It means that we've achieved our goal. But like I said, we did not plan on. Again, we used games as the example because games was the first thing to go out. We knew that other people would build games far more elaborate with than we would. Yeah, I'm just saying the name that, like, Cogs is owned by RFOX. Yeah, correct. It will for RFOX TV. It will be an RFOX TV will be the showcase for what streaming can mean in the metaverse, and then there will be people that come along and say, right, I want to take plug that in, and I want to create a brand. Some of those companies that we're talking to, we might obviously help fund and then take a percentage of ownership. Others would come in and say, help me use the tools, and then negotiating to return something to RFOX holders or the community. And and how they can contribute to the ecosystem. But obviously, the bigger the ecosystem becomes and the more people we have using it, then the bigger the audience is there, which means that more people would prefer to use our tools to deploy their business rather than starting from scratch because they already have an audience. When you think about that logically, it's very obvious why we've gone down the route that we have. Everyone on the source tonight. I think they're always on the source, aren't they? For top content creators and for RFOX TV, can I expect the same functionality as YouTube? Or what extra tools would be given? Don't need anything, just asking. Do I just simply upload my video, create the description, and that's it? So there's probably 3 different components to that question. But yes, ultimately, we talked about people thinking that it might be too much like YouTube or whatever, but again, it's one standalone tool. So yes, you'd be able to do all of that, but ultimately by plugging in the other tools, it would mean that you could, for example, do social gifting. You could give away NFTs to your audiences down the track. You could commoditize your content by distributing it in the form of NFTs or sharing the IP rights to content using NFTs. So there's multiple ways you can plug the products the tools that we're putting out there that you could use in unison together. Can you still hear me okay, Pete? I noticed my thing's just gone red.
Nope.
Yeah,
Nope.
it's good.
Nope.
Fine.
You're good.
Fine,
You're
mate.
good.
Awesome. I know that after I have these conversations with you, many people start to understand what we're talking about and work out how, and I know that for a fact because you're coming back to me and coming up with ideas for how you could plug things in together, or could you do this? The thing is, we've got to move from speculation to having the products out, because the question that I keep getting asked is, would I be able to use this? Would I be able to leverage off of this? Well, of course, that's the whole idea of it. So we need to get to a point where it's an established fact that you know that you can create a business or company, Web 3.0 metaverse-based company, just by using the tools that you're provided. So you can click in. That's what we want to help you do. Any updates on the strategic utility for tubes holders? If I remember correctly, there were talks of using tubes to obtain tournament tickets, then as a percentage of revenue. What about making tubes to RFOX games like VFOX is to RFOX? Yep. So I think that we've got a couple of these games questions that we can make sure that we flag for Wednesday. But yes, you've half answered it, Urban Gecko. Oh, there you go. Since RFOX is just showcasing the tools, what agendas, safeguards in place to prevent a Web 2.0 giant like YouTube coming in and taking over using your tools? So, Pete, maybe you can help me explain it. Maybe I'm explaining it in a wrong way. So, by using the tools, you'd be plugging into our ecosystem. So if YouTube came along and said, I want to use their NFT platform to produce NFTs, for example, then that would all be coming through our ecosystem, subject to the same things that anybody using the tools would have to abide by.
That is correct.
I'm trying to work out how to make it in its best in non-Benny language, more English. I think I'm reasonably okay at explaining things in simple terms, but I think the idea that we've had since the beginning is obviously a big and grand idea of a lot of things that click together, and I think now it's becoming clearer to people, which is good. Follow-up question, can I stream NFTs or a token to everyone who watches my video? Is the functionality of the NFT token stuff already built in or not? Then collect these NFTs back for special perks, just thinking out loud. Pete, do you want to have a stab at that?
I don't understand when he says stream NFTs. I
I
don't
think he's
get that
getting
part.
the concept of like POAP. I think it's something like that. You
So
watch
you
my
want to
video, you get a
you want to
NFT as
gift
proof or something.
NFT. Yeah, you want to gift an NFT to someone who watches a video. No, that functionality is not available yet.
Not yet.
Not yet, but it's in the pipeline.
So technically speaking, anything that combines the NFT with the TV streaming or content production, then they're things that we would have either thought about, or people will come up with new ideas as time progresses, and they can be put into the pipeline of building. But we've always said that the idea of having streaming and NFTs is so that we can actually do things like social gifting, and so that you can reward your audiences, and vice versa. They can tip you or buy you something. And if you look at some of the big Chinese e-commerce and e-commerce streaming platforms, that was a game changer for them, to allow people to tip their influencers and to buy them digital gifts. And NFTs just add an extra layer of ownership and give them greater value. It's a really, really cool concept and idea. And yes, like you've got, so how do I get people an NFT? So so the other thing is that we have to work on tools to help with mass adoption, and therefore we have to work as time goes on. And there's tools coming out all the time and apps coming out that are making it easier, but you have to work out how to make it so that people don't have to get a PhD before they can exact that, or take receipt or benefit from the NFTs and things that are being created. You spoke about having different instances of the vault earlier. Have you thought about making an instance for with art from big brands, some shops, different art? Fortnite could, for example, have an instance of the gaming quarter, and you take a subscription fee. So one of the things that we talked about with a few brands and sporting identities and stuff was, how do we make it so that if I'll use the zombie example there, if someone wants to make a zombie shooter game, how do we make it that a person who's going shopping doesn't have to duck laser beams and try not to get shot while they're going shopping? And the answer was to have different instances, and we looked at that in a multitude of ways. One from different instance of the same environment. We looked at it from shops, because effectively when you walk into a shop, it's an instance. So the opportunity for brands to have their own version. We talked to golfing companies and to different sporting companies about doing a game around a quarter. So all of that has been discussed and looked at for sure. Any major updates or news from RFOX Games? So Wednesday would be the time to talk to you about that, but I think they have got a few things that they can talk to you about, yes. RFOX has a 9-point funnel plan. So we started off in the beginning with when we sat down and worked out all of these things to build, we sat down with a 9-point funnel system that asked a series of questions, and what we wanted to do was try to make sure that we were building things that fit or came out of that 9-point funnel system, instead of just choosing things that we thought were cool. There had to be some sort of logic behind it. And so ultimately the things that we sat down to build and the things that we are building out now, as far as product lines and industry type, all originated from that original planning. What an NFT can level up, the more videos you watch from the creator, the higher the level and changes. Yeah, so there's lots of stuff that you can do with that. Imagine how cool comps can be for giving away NFTs in comps on blockchain, verified. No wondering if they fudged the entry conditions or selected their buddies behind closed doors. So much of that can be done. It's going to be cool. That's the two major bullish suggestions for blockchain gaming were anti-fraud and ownership of assets and items beyond the server that you are playing the game on. So there's tons that can be done. And like I said, once we get the tools and the systems up and running, people are going to work with this stuff in then we might. Just make your team bigger. Bigger tech team equals bigger tech. I think Yat is busy investigating this concept with Magic Mirror. He's investigating a lot of stuff. Yat Swee's the person behind Animoca Brands. Timeout. I'm trying to give you more work. There you go. That's why I ignore. So I think the thing that we'll talk about a lot in the coming months is how that creator economy will work, and once we've released all of these tools, how people will use them. But I don't think you're going to need too many physical examples, because there's already a couple of companies that are, and one of them but there's a couple of companies that are already working on building a business based on the products and services that we're about to release. So rather than going and doing it themselves. Now, the old argument to that, and the reason that people sort of crypto's a different world, right? Because you've got the value of the tokens and the user access, the access to the platform. So it's different than an old equity-based business model that a lot of people are used to. So people will deploy businesses based on other people's IP or other people's tools and tech. And the fact is, if you can actually do that quickly and you can deploy in an environment where you've got a ton of users, then you've got a much higher chance of success, because there's a lot of people out there still raising to build tools, because a lot of those tools don't exist. But as those tools hit the market, then it's a great race, isn't it? Because you can take those tools and deploy very, very fast. So what we're doing is making sure that those tools are somewhat bound to our system, in the sense that when you deploy, that's also, you get the benefit of the shared system, but we also get the benefit of the fact that more and more users and people are coming in and integrating. So we don't have an official channel for that setup, but they seem to always find us when people have the question of who do I speak to in relation to that at the moment, because the question we keep getting asked is, do you do funding? We'll always look at that if you've got an interesting idea, but ultimately we've started with the grants for NFT platform. So if you think you've got a great idea for an NFT project that can be launched in the RFOX ecosystem using the NFT white label platform, then there is the potential for you to apply to release your collection, and we would potentially give you a grant to do that. Some of those conversations have spawned into larger ideas, and where you've wanted to create a whole business. So that's something that we definitely look at. All right. Any other questions or things we want to cover? Lovely. Josh is typing. So Wednesday, MVP. Sometime before Wednesday or on Wednesday, the greater economic paper, so that you can have more of a read, as stated. And again, we will have the names tomorrow in relation to the early access. So look forward to seeing some of you in there as well, so that we can get in there and have a talk. Lots going on. Yeah, it is pretty exciting. I think the thing is that, again, having spent so long on a lot of these individual pieces, having them all coming out in quick succession is really good, because then the plugging together begins. And then, like I said, we want to encourage people that are combining those tools and launching metaverse brands or companies, because that's obviously that's a great showcase for what can be done. I know there's probably a form to sign for the MVP, but can I ask now if I can record anything through Oculus? Luke?
Yep, no, it's fine. We'll be sharing some content too, but we're okay with it. Anyone who gets invited in will get a welcome pack. And what that welcome pack basically states is that as long as you do it with the right intentions and you're being positive, then it's okay to share. We know we can't stop it anyway, so we're okay with it. And we want to be as transparent about what we're offering as possible. So, yeah, we've got no qualms with it. It's just as long as it's done with the right attitude and a positive nature.
As you know, mate, the space it's brutally early. It's a dirty MVP. It's the first iteration, and it's a thing of function and not so much form. But ultimately, having said all of that, like Luke said, we're confident enough that people will want to share some of the stuff that they see and that they're interacting with it doing. And I think that it is a good first stepping stone and starting point. So, like I said, once you see what drops on the back of this straight after, that gives, I think people will be like, this room should be asking stuff like, how does that click in? What will happen when that happens when you combine those two? But like I said, the quicker we can get a few projects or groups of you guys that come along and say, right, we want to establish something and do something ourselves using those tools and plugging into the RFOX ecosystem, that's the type of stuff we want to encourage. And that's not going to be far away because, as I said, we've already got a few. One of them you already know. People that are planning on literally launching companies based on the fact that they would be using our tools.
Can I just comment on, but just following up on what Piyush said, we definitely want people to report bugs, and we've added a feedback tab to the Vault website. So as part of Piyush's start on the refresh of that website, you'll see there's a little feedback option there, and that'll take you to a tool which will allow you to post photos and give us feedback. It's not only about reporting bugs, but also just giving us ideas and things you want to see improve and things you want added. And we'll be looking at that really closely. I know Joe will be reading that a lot, and I will be, and we'll be feeding that back directly into the backlog. So that's your channel to get things done.
Yeah, that'd be good if people are going, wow, amazing. I think, honestly, again, it's the stake in the ground, isn't it? It's saying this is ground zero, this is the starting point. And the thing you've got to be very brutally honest about is that a lot of what we're seeing in the space at this particular point in time is a video that anybody can make. And a lot of them, we speak to a lot of these projects. These projects are a lot further away from anything than you think. So a starting point's a starting point, and getting out there and then having multiple products drop straight after each other, it shows the work that's been put in and done, and it shows that it's all happening. RFOX Vault collecting bugs to swim in my virtual bug pool. There you go. All right, so it's a huge week for us. We've got tons of stuff to get prepared before Wednesday, including that economic paper, as I said. So looking forward to coming back on Wednesday night, because by the time we do this on Wednesday, we'll be giving away a Kogu. We'll also have people in the vault. It's going to be pretty exciting. So hopefully we can give you some really good updates and maybe even some proper visuals from the vault. So really looking forward to that. Outside of that, have a fantastic evening. Be very careful in these topsy-turvy markets, as stated before, and look forward to seeing some of you in the vault. When you wake up tomorrow, depending where you are in the world, you may have found out whether you've got Willy Wonka's golden ticket. Thanks very much for joining us. I really appreciate it, especially in a market like this. Really appreciate the time, and very, very exciting for the products to drop. So thank you very much for your support, guys, and look forward to seeing you all in there.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. You guys have a great day.